Well, I think in a situation where price is not regulated, I'm not in a position to make a comment. But we must bear in mind one fact that a lot of revenue that comes both to the center and the states from oil products is eventually used both for infrastructure creation and for the social sectors itself. One of the reasons that the central government was able to enlarge its infrastructure spending has been on account of the fact that some additional revenues had come. But over the last few weeks, oil prices in the global market did increase. They increased because the capacity shrunk because of the hurricanes in the United States. Also, the impact of the crisis building around North Korea, also had some adverse impact on the oil prices. And it is important that we allow more money today to remain in the hands of the consumers. And therefore, we did take a conscious decision to make a cut. Now it is for the state governments that if they are concerned with the issue, because I do recollect that some state governments, particularly in Kerala, in Delhi, were in the forefront, and therefore the state governments really must look at their own VAT collections. We must bear in mind that a large part of what is collected from petroleum products also goes to the states. Absolutely. The states are collecting their own VAT, and in addition to their own VAT on petroleum products, 42% of the central duties also go to the states. Therefore, a larger part of the oil kitty really goes to the states, and therefore some part of the impact the states must also bear this in mind itself. Of course, it does impact on the revenues of both the central and the state governments itself, that's obvious. But then if the economy moves up, there is an adequate space for covering up whatever is lost. Particularly when the global prices are high, there is some kind of a cushion required to be provided as far as the consumers are concerned. And therefore, we had taken a conscious decision to that effect.
Sir, given the fact that Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan has said that VAT should come down, can we expect something from the BJP ruled states to act?
Well, I think the states manage their own finances, and I'm sure the states are also very close to their own people, and therefore particularly states which have levied duties of 25%, 27%, 37%, in some case over 40%, will also adequately factor this concern in.
Right, sir. Sir, also we expect overall prices to come down around 4 to 5 rupees in terms of...
Well, I am not in a position to make any definitive statement because I can't really say what the states have done. The centre has taken a small step forward. I am sure the others must also seriously consider this.
So you've already indicated that possibly, you know, only a kind of small dip or a blip, so to speak, in terms of the growth numbers. This may be very transient, especially as the destocking impact, you know, wears off. In the times to come, you know, yesterday's decision also is actually a stimulus. You know, there is a fiscal hit.
You see, I think some people have made politics of doom as their principal agenda. Well, they must bear in mind that India in the current global situation is doing quite well. We've had 3 full years of this government and we are in the 4th year. I don't recollect a single instance in Indian history where for 3 years in a row, India was the fastest growing major economy in the world. I don't recollect, except in the year 1991, any other incident in the last 26 years where India consistently went on a reform path and restored the credibility of the Indian economy by a decision making all aimed in one direction, particularly a legacy of policy paralysis, corruption, leaderlessness, a decision-making standstill that we inherited. I think consistently India has been referred to as a bright spot. Now, obviously, when you undertake structural reforms may involve a phase of transformation. For instance, it's obvious in a phase of transformation that when you switch over from one taxation system to another in an indirect tax, there will be destocking of existing stocks, and therefore temporarily some manufacturing will come down. Those who don't have the broad shoulders to either take decisions or implement such landmark decisions really can only sit on the sidelines and comment on it. But at the end of the day, it's our responsibility as a government to make sure that these decisions work, they work well, and therefore whatever glitches come in way of these decisions, those glitches are removed. For instance, the credit of exporters being blocked is one issue which has come to notice. The excessive compliance burden on the small and medium enterprises has come to notice. And I am sure when the GST Council meets
One meeting is just day after.
on the 6th of this month, the finance ministers of the states also are equally concerned about the businesses in their states. And therefore, all these issues will be factored in those meetings. And I'm sure they will find an appropriate response and a remedy as far as these issues are concerned. We've had a clarity of direction to take these decisions, and as situations emerge, it's obligatory for those in decision making to really react to those situations and respond to those situations, and that's what the GST Council has been doing, and I'm sure it will again do the same.
So given the fact that fiscal stimulus is something which have been in the reports, there have been certain concerns about the fiscal health of the centers as well as the state. The states are already...
Well, I can tell you we are on a very sound wicket as far as the center and the states are concerned. And please have no concern on this. We've had a record of prudence better than any government in the past. We inherited an unacceptable level of fiscal deficit, and consistently we've been bringing it down. Our direction is very clear.
Right, sir. So just adding very briefly to that, sir, like for example, a lot of experts like the new VC of the Niti Aayog has an opinion that possibly, even if the government just loosens the purse string slightly in terms of the deficit number or whatever, it'll just help the economy. Do you
Well, I won't speculate or give any theories at this effect. My job is to make sure that we do the best.
Right, sir. So very quickly, so also moving forward, you have also said current account deficit, fiscal deficit, inflation, all is under control. Signals have come out from Ministry that inflation, may be rising. Do you subscribe to that?
Well, which world are we living in?
Because India is like 3.3% is inflation.
You see,
and it's a large economy.
Can you have an economy where there is
Without
panic at 3.36%? And 3.36% when there is peak monsoon, when the vegetable prices skyrocket. So at that part of the year when the inflation is supposed to be the highest, or nearly the highest, you've touched a 3.36 figure. Now it may be plus minus in that variation, but that's well within the statutory mandated 4% that we've fixed up. And I'm sure having inherited a near double-digit inflation just 3.5 years ago, we've consistently had an excellent track record in maintaining inflation. The RBI as a central bank has been tuning its monetary policy, also keeping that in mind. And I think if there is one issue on which it has to be conceded, that the macroeconomic parameters, including inflation, have been all consistent. It has been consistently under this government.
Right, sir. Great, sir.
And so is the government confident of meeting its divestment targets, sir, this year?
Well, let's be very clear. We make no song and dance of privatization and divestment as has been done in the past by various people. But we've been trying to meet our target. Now, last year, for instance, I touched a figure of as high as 46,000 crores.
47,000.
47,000 crores, which is record in Indian history. And we haven't made much noise about it. And therefore, one has to do it in a democratic society while carrying various institutions, including the labor unions, with us when we do that. And this year we've kept a very high
Target 72,500, very stiff.
about 70,000 crores, and I'm sure we are well on way to meeting the target.